Andy brought it up, but this idea of spiritual bypass. And oftentimes you can go to a push-up class at the local yoga studio.
Yeah.
And you can get your green juice and you can walk out of there and then you can start yelling at your whoever. That was a big realization for my practice, is if my yoga practice is actually not creating more peace or serenity for me, then what is it? What is the purpose of this? No, there's a feeling that we need to go out and get more, and that we're not enough as we are. But the truth is just, and I think one of the great things about the yogic practice is that we start to shed things. I said earlier that there's many definitions of yoga, and I reserve the right to change my definition of yoga as I see fit. But for me, what I see yoga as recently is shedding. Is like taking away that clutter, all of those things that are preventing me from seeing not only myself as a 10, but also to see that person that cut me off in traffic as they're a 10 too, they're perfect, right? But it's so easy, and we get caught up in these ideas of, well, to build something up, we have to put something down. So we other people from ourselves, and that makes the ego feel really good, because the ego, that separation between you and I, it starts to build a little bit more structure as I say that you're not as good as me, or that guy that cut me off is an asshole. But truth is, that's all illusion. When all of that gets in the way of you actually living your life, they say that's a golden chain. So a golden chain is something that's incredibly opulent and auspicious and beautiful and valuable, but a chain is a chain, and at the end of the day, you're still in bondage. So I think you're onto something. It's like, why am I just sitting here? Why am I not present? Sit half an hour every morning when I do a meditation practice? No, my meditation practice is actually much shorter at home than it is when I'm with my students. And from time to time, I drop it because I do want to be mindful again of that golden chain, right? So I had, and probably when I first met you, I was at the studio that we were talking about earlier. I was there every day for 2 or 3 classes. And it goes down to that conversation about losing my identity as an athlete, so I needed to become a yogi. So that 8 hours that I was going to spend in the gym, I started spending that 8 hours at the yoga studio, right? So it's just like, and then eventually the yoga practice had a way of kind of calming me down in such a way where that turned down to 1 class a day. And after about 740 days, I actually tried spending a day not at the studio. But wow. I went through one point, and I tell this story in teacher training, and it comes off, I think as more time passes, it becomes more of a sadder story than I thought it was. But the story is probably about 5 years ago when I about, let's say 5 years. But when I was really, really, really passionately doing my yoga practice, and like that junior monk, I'm like, well, I can get to enlightenment by doing 3 power classes a day, right?
So funny, yeah.
Yeah, so I remember it was nearing Christmas time, and I was obsessively going to the studio, and my mom said, Kent, for Christmas, just don't go to yoga. And I said, okay, and I promised her that I wasn't going to go to yoga. And it sounds like a sadder story than it is, but I think it's a good story for teacher trainings. Because what I ended up doing is I woke up, and before everyone woke up for Christmas morning, I snuck out of the house. As a teenager, I never snuck out of the house to go party or did anything that would upset my parents. But this is probably at 25 years old. I snuck out of my parents' house on Christmas morning to go practice a yoga Pilates class, because that's what I felt that I needed to do to be, again, falling victim to a label of a yogi. What I realize now with hindsight and hopefully a little bit more wisdom behind me is that the yoga was at home on Christmas morning. Like the yoga was to be with my family. The yoga wasn't to go, to the studio.